can get Johni Broome back to his customary place in terms of scoring. Now, Auburn and Duke seem to have separated themselves ever so slightly from that next tier, which would include Florida, Houston, and maybe a couple of others. You see where they stand right now. They played head-to-head in December in Cameron Indoor. Duke won the game. So the question is, we are here on the final Saturday, a week and a day away from Selection Sunday. If I gave you the choice of Auburn and Duke to win the national championship or the field, who are you taking?
I love this game.
I'm taking the field. I'm taking the field because when I look at the field, I look at Florida, who I think right now in this moment in time is the best team in college basketball, the most complete. They're the deepest. Their backcourt, they have 4 guys at any given night can absolutely light it up. Walter Clayton is not good. He's absolutely terrific. Front court versatility, size, length, skill. You saw what Condon did the other day. He had 27. They've got rim protection. They're an elite defensive team, an elite offensive team, and they have depth. They're built to win 6 games in the NCAA tournament.
I'm taking the field also. And to Seth's point, I think Florida is the equal of Auburn and Duke. They have been really ascending over the past several weeks. I mean, they beat Auburn at Auburn with Elijah Martin out. They're legit. They have incredible size and skill with those big guys. Alex Condon is as good a big man passer as you're going to find. Thomas Houck is an excellent defender that can switch on anybody. And then Ruben Chinyelu seals off help on a drive better than any big guy I've seen all year long. And then their guards, they have a core of 4 guards, now 5, with Urban Klapchar, who can really shoot it. That core of guards is the equal to any guard core in the country. They're legit.
Yeah.
So and then I think Houston is right there with them. Tennessee, I'd actually take the field. Alabama. And once some of these SEC teams get out of conference play, they're going to be happy to see fresh meat. Then they don't have to play against each other.
Jay, you made a point, I think it was throughout the course of the week, where you said winning the SEC championship might be harder than winning the national championship because of all the ranked teams. It's ridiculous.
The next time the top teams in the SEC play a non-quad 1 game is going to be in the NCAA tournament. That's the next time. 14 SEC teams have more AP top 25 wins than Duke. 14.
Do you guys worry that the grind of the SEC, where think about Alabama's last 5 games, absolutely ridiculous. Is it worthwhile for those teams to win the SEC tournament and not really have a chance to have some rest? So when they get into the NCAA
I hate this argument, Seth. I'm trying to win every game I play.
No, they're going to try. They're going to try to win, but that's a fair point.
Yeah,
they're going to try to win, but if they lose, it's not bad news.
Of course, yeah, that's fine.
They get to go home and get ready for the next thing. The only thing I worry about with SEC teams are 2 things. Health. Are they going to be healthy when they get to the NCAA tournament? The other thing is that's an incredibly physical league. Are they going to be able to adjust to a closely called game in the first round, second round? It's going to be called a little bit closer to when the referees, get to be all Power 5 guys down the stretch.
I want to hit one thing you guys were talking about with the tournament. I called the Ole Miss Tennessee game the other night, and Rick Barnes brought this up. And again, let's point out, everybody's going to try to win every game. If they're giving a trophy, you want it. Tennessee's going to try to win the tournament. I'm not suggesting that. But Rick told a story about when he was at Providence. They won the Big East tournament. He said everybody was going crazy. By the time they got back, there was a billboard up. Congratulations. They're tired. You're worn out. And they turn around and you play on Thursday in the NCAA tournament. You get beat. I mean, it happened to Auburn last year in the SEC tournament.
And they play on Sunday in this tournament.
You win a conference championship and you tend to exhale. North Carolina is an example. So I think it was 2005. They lost in Washington, D.C. to Georgia Tech in the semifinals. They get beat. I'm sitting by the edge of the bench on the media side. And Roy Williams walked down the bench after he took the starters out and goes, if you listen to me, we're going to win the national championship. And they got to go home. Nobody was talking about them. Work out, practice, and then they wound up ripping through the tournament and winning it all in St. Louis. There's something to that. I think that's a fair point.
I do want to say about the SEC, in particular teams like Tennessee, I do get worried about the SEC because of the foul calling, the lack of foul calling, and how that translates to tournament success. Because when you get to the tournament, these are refs from all over. They call fouls differently, and that physicality could lead to a lot of SEC teams getting in foul trouble early.
Jay mentioned the first 2 rounds. They call it really tight.
Yes, they do.
And, okay, last thing real quick here. These guys said they take the field. You're taking Auburn or Duke?
I'm taking Auburn or Duke just because I think the level of consistency they've had in the best conference. And then, Duke hasn't lost a game. They lost 1 game in 99 days. 1 game in 99 days. I'm gonna bet on that.
There you go. I'll wrap this up. We talk about, oh, you can exhale, you can relax, and I totally agree. Let's not forget what the beloved team from the state of North Carolina, NC State, did last year. Ripping through 5 days of the ACC tournament and then going to the Final Four. So it can be done. Depends on how you handle it. But to do so, they'll have to get past this man, Cooper Flagg, perhaps the National Player of the Year. His last home game, boy, did he go off. He put up some numbers against Wake Forest, 28 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. Categories that he leads the Blue Devils in over the course of the season. Go over to Pete Thamel. Now, Pete, what do you got?
Well, Rece, Duke obviously hasn't won the national title since 2015. That team had 3 freshmen in the starting lineup, led by Jahlil Okafor. So I asked some coaches around the ACC this week, can Cooper Flagg lead the Blue Devils on a similar run to the national title? Their answer matched the prop I found here with the Duke students. They think Cooper's money. They answered with a resounding yes. I started with Jeff Capel, obviously been a Duke assistant, and he said the biggest difference in Duke this season is that Flagg is both the best and the most competitive player. Capel said Flagg reminds him of Blake Griffin, who he coached at Oklahoma. He had the rare ability to make everyone on the team around him better and more competitive. Wake Forest coach Steve Forbes said this is not the most talented Duke team he's coached against. That would be Coach K's final one in 2022. He did say it was the best Duke team that he's played in terms of cohesiveness, and that really starts with Flagg. He's both a scorer and an initiator from the high post. Flagg's 4.2 assists per game lead Duke, and one of the reasons why they've played so well these last 7 games, winning by 31.3 points, is that Flagg has really picked up the tempo and the pace. Finally, I talked to Mike Krzyzewski this week. He said Flagg is, quote, there with any freshman we've had at Duke. He did say one warning sign, though. He's curious how the Blue Devils will respond in the NCAA tournament. The ACC, Rece, has not been the gauntlet that a lot of his Duke teams faced over the years.
Pete, I know you didn't see, there's a sign right behind you that said, I drove 13 miles to be here. I think the race between Cooper Flagg and Johni Broome has gone a little bit longer. These two, pretty much a 2-car race at this point. The Auburn star against the Duke star, and for a while it was Johni who got out in front of the youngster, but Flagg urged his way to the front, and by mid to late February it was Flagg having the edge, but Broome back to the stretch, and now down the stretch they come! And Cooper Flagg right now has the edge on Johni Broome, but Broome has an opportunity against Alabama, and of course Flagg has the opportunity tonight to cap off his sensational freshman season. You know, I'm reminded of a story of a coach who shall remain nameless. He had his star player who had ditched study hall. An assistant coach came to him and said, I think we're going to have to put him on the bench. This head coach looked at him and said, are you kidding me? Look up at the people sitting in the stands. They don't care about GPA, care about NBA. He's going to play, coach. But what if you cared about both? Cooper Flagg leads Duke in scoring, leads them in rebounding, leads them in assists, leads them in steals, leads them in blocks, and leads them in GPA with a perfect 4.0, a nearly perfect prospect, an outstanding teammate who sat down with Andraya Carter and his teammate Tyrese Proctor.
Duke, they keep on rolling. It's a team that has as good a shot as anybody to cut down the nets.
Cooper, how would you describe your freshman year so far and being the leader of this team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a great year. How everybody kind of came together really quickly, and it was just made everything a lot easier. Having guys like Tyrese, Mason, Sion, who have been in the college basketball world for a couple years. In Mason's case, like 6, Sion 5. So having those guys who have been around for a long time made it a lot easier to just get into a groove, find a rhythm.
Tyrese, what is it like for you being a junior, being a veteran, kind of the old man on the team?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a change. It feels different, but I feel like, I mean, even my freshman year, at some point, you got to grow up in the season, and it's definitely gone quick, I can tell you that. But it's been great. Just trying to help everyone on the team.
Cooper, what's it been like for you on campus? Like, what is going to class like? How would you describe day-to-day on campus?
I mean, at first, going to class was kind of crazy. Everybody would give, like, weird looks or, like, kind of standoffish, and didn't, like, treat us like normal. But I think after the first couple of weeks, everybody was really cool and kind of just treated me and the rest of the guys like normal.
Tyrese, once Cooper coming to Duke, there was a ton of hype around it. But what was the moment where you realized, okay, he's he's as good as advertised?
I think in the summer workouts, he had a couple of off the backboard dunks mid-play, and I mean, you sort of got the vibe, you know what I'm saying? He was legit, but I mean, he's always been, you know, a team-first player, and you know, coach and us want him to be more selfish at times, just because it's the right thing for the team.
What did you have to do to get yourself to that assertive mindset?
Maybe it was some talks with Coach Shire, my parents, whatever it was. But I just feel like my teammates and like all the coaches around me have just been putting me in the best positions possible.
Cooper Flagg, 42 points, a new ACC freshman record.
All season long, we've talked about this Duke defense. What would you say, Cooper, makes this defense so tough to go against?
Everybody is connected. Something we like to say is like having 5 people guarding the ball. So everybody's pulling towards the ball. If it's a ball screen, everybody's shrinking the court.
We just play for each other. I think that's a big thing, knowing that if there is a little slip up or something like that, someone has your back.
And Cooper, you've just proven so much of you being a two-way player. How important is it for you to produce on both ends and just show that every night?
Yeah, I mean, that's always been important to me, playing defense, getting stops. And that kind of fuels me at the same time, like scoring whenever offense is cool. But I think like locking people down and getting stops really fuels a team.
What gives you more energy, a big-time block at the rim or a big-time dunk at the rim?
Dunk.
Probably a dunk, but that's a little different. But I think like a big-time block is a lot of energy too.
Obviously, the NCAA tournament is coming up. What would your advice be, Tyrese, for Cooper and some of the freshmen coming into their first postseason?
It's 0-0. Nothing that happens before matters. You've seen so many different upsets throughout the years, and I think it's just from teams getting too high or too low, and just one game at a time, which we've done the whole year.
Cooper Flagg's the most versatile player in college basketball. He impacts the game offensively and defensively every single time down the floor. So let's take a look at his versatility right here. His ability to play in ball screens. He's a screener right now, but he's going to short roll right here. Now he becomes a playmaker. Terrific drop dive, great pass.
And this is what you love about him. Reading the tag here. Look at the DHO. Comes up DHO. Defense comes from the weak side. Boom, quick skip pass to Sion James for a knockdown 3.
His ability to initiate the fast break. He leads them in rebounds. When he gets a defensive rebound, he can turn, look up at the floor, put his eyes on the rim. Great job of Malawat running the floor. Good job of him seeing the play early.
How about that pass with the left hand too, Seth? And this is great. Second hand transition, letting the defense flatten out. Okay, watch Malawat as he's coming down the court. He's going to seal the big. He pulls the ball out, and look, the head fake, right into the and one.
Great job of playing through contact. Everyone said early on, can he shoot the 3? Good job of setting up off the ball screen. That's right in transition, and the drag screen jumps up and knocks down the 3.
And that's what you love about the defensive range. Both Seth and I have talked about him being like AK-47, Andre Korolenko. Look how he utilizes that 7'1" wingspan. Jay Bilas take a shot and blocking the actual shot here. His defensive awareness is what sets him apart, Seth.
He's a point forward, a point guard, a forward, you name it, he can do it. Most versatile player in college basketball. Cooper Flagg.
It's a flat-out hooper, man.
Now, the Duke Blue Devils. You see their resume, it is spectacular. So now this is a little bit of a different kind of deal for Duke. We talked early in the show, Auburn, Duke, or the field. Blue Devils feeling themselves. Here is the take it or leave it for Duke. National championship game, which by definition means they lose the national championship game, but it keeps you from getting beat in the Elite Eight. It avoids that Sweet 16 upset in which, look, we all know that's a successful season for any program. It will be a disappointment for Duke if they only go to the Sweet 16. So would you take a guarantee that you at least make the national championship game, even if that means you fall there? Take it or leave it.
I'm leaving it.
Leaving it.
I'm play to win. I play to win the game.
Everybody's trying to win the game.
I hear you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to take it to get there and move. No, you get there to win.
Understood.
So
That's the whole exercise.
Yeah.
No, I'm asking you. Are you saying they're so good? Got to win it.
Got to win it. Got to win it.
Okay.
It's a championship.
Right.
This is the best team they've had in a long time.
Basically, you're saying it's win or bust.
Yes.
Cut it down or
That's
bust.
okay.
That's fine. I agree.
I want that pressure.
100% agree with you. They're not getting there to get to a championship game. This team, this program, the way they're playing, the seasons they've had, there's only one option at the end of this thing. Win a national championship.
Okay, so let's put a fine point on this. Is it a relative failure if they don't win the national championship?
For those guys,
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Take it or leave it.
Whether
lost in that game.
I'm Duke, Auburn, Florida, or Houston, I leave this.
There you go.
All those 4 teams, I leave it. I mean, I would rather risk getting beat earlier to win it. Those
That's it.
4.
Risk mitigation. That's what we should have called the whole segment, risk mitigation. Where's a good lawyer when you need it?
Because people love a good risk mitigation.
Hey, you've lived life.
Maybe we could do an actuarial segment.
People
Is that game still
people
on
are
you?
out in this world right now. They're mitigating risk right and left. They're not willing to take risks.
Reece, to
There are
this
people
point,
who
though-
have cottage industries. You're saying there are people who paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. Come to my company, take risk, go out there, do something, be exciting. It's easy.
Does that game still haunt you?
What game?
Your game in the Final Four.
Thank you for bringing that up. My analyst said I don't have to talk about
Hey,
that.
Seth,
Yes,
my
it
game
does.
doesn't haunt me.
Top 15 ballot. For more on this, you can go to ESPN.com. You know, we've said this for quite some time, that it's a two-person race between Johni Broome and Cooper Flagg. But all of these other guys, the top 15 on the ballot, spectacular seasons, worthy candidates, and certainly deserving of being on this top 15 for the Wooden Award presented by Principal. Certainly, Johni Broome has a great opportunity to do so. If you think back in the history of Auburn basketball, Charles Barkley, certainly the most talented, the most revered. Chuck Person was the most productive. Bryce Brown took Auburn to places that they've never been before. But it could be that Johni Broome has an opportunity to step into an ethereal realm on the plains, one reserved for Barkley, Bo, the big hurt Frank Thomas, and Suni Lee, because Johni Broome could be National Player of the Year. He could be a national champion, which will be the first in Auburn basketball history. But many believe he's already locked up one title that none of them will ever touch. The greatest player ever to come out of the transfer portal.
Number 4, Johni Broome, one of the premier big men in the country.
My basketball journey, I would describe it as tortoise in the hare. Started off slow as far as being overlooked, going to Morehead State. But each year, I feel like I've gotten better. At the end, I'm looking to finish, the race by winning a national championship.
This guy was at Morehead State a couple years back, and they turned him to an all-conference player, to All-American.
Johni blends a little bit of swagger with a little bit of, I got a chip on my shoulder. He takes the floor to prove every night that he's better than what he was ever given credit for. In the history of the transfer portal, Johni Broome might be the best transfer in the history of college basketball.
The National Player of the Year, in my opinion, thus far, Johni Broome.
At Morehead, I learned a lot about myself, my competitiveness, my drive for basketball. I've always had that confidence in myself, but once I came to college and realized I could play with anybody, it just kind of boosted my confidence even more.
May not be anywhere like it in college basketball, the jungle in Auburn, Alabama.
In 2021, playing Auburn, it was kind of crazy. I remember that was the first game of my sophomore year, and it was rocking.
It's like they've got the bass turned up to 11. It is shaking in here.
I mean, tip-off, I had like butterflies.
We were blessed with 2 guys on the front line, Walker Kessler, the Defensive Player of the Year and eventual draft pick, and Jabari Smith, the 3rd player taken in the draft. It was all that he could handle. But he definitely looked like he belonged.
Broome, turnaround jumper over Kessler.
Just seeing how they play and seeing how the jungle was rocking and the impact they had when it was time for me to commit, it kind of forced me to come this way.
When he was at Morehead State, he was a dominating inside player at a mid-major. Coming to Auburn, could he step up the next level?
I feel like my game has grown in just about every way that it could have. On the perimeter, shooting more, being able to guard 1 through 5, switching out on guards, my driving ability.
Here's Broome, the drive and the flush.
Gotta let you kick us up. I'm going with the Foxes today. Darren Fox, out Darren Fox. Trying to rate my drip. Rate the court drip.
Court drip. Johni is a great teammate.
You see these passes I'm giving to him, watch this. I'm funny on his numbers.
He's a quiet leader, but he also keeps things light and lively.
Who's that? Still. Hey, that camera guy, let me get cold feet.
that also takes a lot of pressure off our team. I think that's why this basketball team's been able to go on the road and do so well.
Their first win here at Rupp Arena in 37 years.
Hey, best in the country, yeah. If we continue to win, Johni Broome will help lead a team to do something that's never been done.
Yeah, go Smell!
That's why I think he should be Player of the Year.
Certainly has the case. Jay, where do you stand on him being the greatest transfer portal era player?
I'll give him portal. That's a different deal. If it's transfer, Larry Bird was a pretty good transfer back in the late 70s when he transferred from Indiana to Indiana State. But Johni Broome, he's really difficult to double. He's such a load inside. But if you double him, he leads Auburn in assists, an excellent passer. And they get him the ball a lot of different ways, creatively. One in that flex action they run where he's often the screener. If you switch it, that's a mismatch on that crackback that they often use. But Bruce Pearl will get him the ball in some other ways and get him isolated. We'll take a look at one of those ways that Auburn tries to get him the ball. Like this is a 1-4 set essentially. So you can see Chad Baker-Mazara come off of a little Iverson cut up top. And then Miles Kelly's going to set a back pick. So he gets the ball off the Iverson cut. Back pick, I don't think Georgia does a very good job communicating here. You certainly want to bump that cut, maybe even switch it, but he's wide open underneath for that pass. Not enough pressure on the passer to keep it away. And here, all they're really trying to do is get Johni Broome into the mid-post. They're going to bring a baseline cutter, and they're going to keep everything to the right side of the floor and essentially overload. Up top, you're going to get a little fade screen to occupy the defense, and then Chad Baker-Mazara is just looking right over the top on the overload because there's no help side defense at all. He holds his position, lets the ball get over his head, and then he goes back to that left hand. He always wants to get to his right shoulder and that left hand, and that's the scouting report, but nobody can stop it.
So Broome has played really well against Alabama in his career. Last couple of games we mentioned earlier in the show, he hasn't scored in double figures. Auburn's wrapped up. The most predictable result of the season was Auburn locking up the SEC, going against the Texas A&M team that was desperate on the road and probably not playing their best. Now, gearing up, rivalry game, want to sweep Alabama. What do you expect from Broome today?
They've got to play through him, and like they did the first Alabama game. Early in the game, he touched like the first 4 possessions, and exactly what you said. If you double him, he's going to spit it out and get someone an open shot. Maybe Miles Kelly, if you play him in the half court. If you play him one-on-one, he's going to work his way to the middle and shoot that jump up. But I think the biggest thing in this game is Auburn's defense. What I mean by that is they forced Alabama to shoot tough contested threes. How'd they do that? On all their switches, they switched up because they want to run them up the three-point line. The size, the length, the physicality of this Auburn defense is just different. They're going to deny Sears the ball. They're going to keep the ball front. The smaller guards get swallowed up. Force tough contested twos. That's the kind of the key, because if Alabama, they get their threes in transition, they get their threes off kick-out drives. They didn't give up any single kick-out drives. Play above, force a switch, stay above on the switch up into the offensive player, and then force tough contested twos. They didn't give many kick-outs or paint touches and kick-outs, and that is the key of this game. If you can set your defense by taking care of the basketball and taking good shots, then you're back and set your defense. And when you set your defense, you have to run them off the three-point line by switching up, playing above people, and forcing them to play downhill and shoot the ball from tough contested twos.
Yeah, I think you make Mark Sears try to finish a lot more plays with his right hand, and you keep pushing him in that way, in that direction. I think that's smart. I think, look, a lot of teams, they already clinched the SEC, right? So when you think about that Texas A&M game in which they lost, they were minus 16 on the boards. And I know that's what Texas A&M does, but they got 24 offensive rebounds. So I think if Bruce Pearl, if there's anything, you have your team's attention. And with a team like Alabama that shoots a lot of threes and they play in transition, those 50-50 balls, those are the balls they need to run. They need to chase down those long rebounds, and that could lead to a lot of points.
Which they did in the first game. And yes. Johni Broome actually shocked Alabama in that first game. He knocked down 2 threes in the opening minutes, and that really stretched them out a little bit, I thought, and kind of shocked them a little bit. But I think there are 3 things. You mentioned one of them. Run them off the three-point line. And Alabama was 5 of 26 from 3 in that first game because they had no open looks. They couldn't get anything in transition, nothing off of because they're a slot driving team. They shoot 60% at the rim. And then, to your point, force Mark Sears right every time. Even if you give him a straight line drive, it's only a 2. You have to do that. And the last thing is 0. You got to limit them to single-digit offensive rebounds because Alabama gets 38%.
Yep.
of their misses. A lot of them are long rebounds, and they didn't do that as well against Florida. Like Florida shut them off. They shut them off from the three-point line. They shut off their offensive rebound. They wound up winning the game as a result.
Noah Sears has been terrific, too. He's been carrying them a little bit offensively, too.
Yes.
30-point games have become regular for him. See if he's got enough. 2:30 Eastern time.